Beneath the skin, beyond the noise of society and the cold diagnoses on medical screens, there is a region of silence. Not the silence of helplessness, but the silence of wisdom. No surgical tool can reach it. No pill can replace the whisper that comes from it. Inside every person there is a teacher, one that never sleeps, never panics, never loses direction. This teacher does not need reminders to keep the heart beating in rhythm, to divide cells with precision, to circulate blood to the right places, to let every biological system quietly fulfill its mission. When the body is injured, it is this wisdom that speaks first. When a cut appears, this teacher mobilizes resources, directs white blood cells, and repairs the tissue. When a pathogen invades, it is this teacher who sends signals through the immune system, orders the counterattack, resolves the threat, and preserves the memory of antibodies. No university can teach this ability. No human hand can create such intelligence. This wisdom cannot be seen with the naked eye. It has no personal name, no fixed location, does not appear on a CT scan. Yet it exists in every second, in every breath, in every biological command your body follows. And it waits for only one thing: your cooperation. Not through technique, not through begging, but through something so simple that many overlook it: attention. The body does not betray you. The body does not rebel on its own. The body does not break down in the way you have been convinced. It merely follows the program you have been writing into it for years, through thoughts, through words, through unchecked beliefs. Every time you say, "I'm weak now," every time you think, "This back is terrible," every time you mutter, "I have no more energy," you are giving orders to this system. And the frightening part does not lie in how negative those words are, but in how often they are repeated. A single phrase can be dismissed. A belief repeated again and again becomes a biological command. Every cell listens, every organ receives, and the inner teacher has no power to refuse. This wisdom knows only one task: obedience. It is not analytical intelligence like the human brain. It is primal intelligence, loyal, absolute, unquestioning. If you tell it you are weak, it instructs the endocrine system to reduce energy. If you tell it you hate your body, it halts self-healing. If you tell it you are useless, it causes cells to slow their activity. And the miracle is this: if you reverse the command, that wisdom will immediately obey as well. When you begin to say, "I am recovering, I am grateful for every heartbeat, I am teaching my body flexibility and peace," the inner teacher hears and begins to act. This is not superstition. This is biological logic operating under emotional command. The mind is the commander. Words are the channel. Emotion is the flame that ignites. And the subconscious is the loyal soldier. No command is rejected, only commands you do not know you are sending. Many believe they are ill because of genetics, because of age, because of stress, but they forget that before any symptom appears, a chain of silent orders has already been issued day after day, week after week, year after year. And the inner teacher never asks back, "Are you sure?" It simply obeys. That is why just changing the way you speak, the way you think, the way you believe, the body begins to change. Not in an instant, but through a process in which each new command is a brick, rebuilding the structure of life. When you learn to converse with your body, you are no longer passive. You no longer wait for others to tell you what is right, what is wrong. You begin to take the lead in guiding your own existence. The inner teacher has never abandoned you. Even when you ignore it, even when you despise it, it keeps you alive, keeps you whole, keeps you existing. But there will come a time, if the neglect continues, when that wisdom must do one thing: speak up. And its voice is the symptom. It is fatigue. It is pain. Not to punish, but to awaken. Not to frighten, but to remind you you are living in conflict with it. The question is not whether the body can heal. The question is, are you speaking correctly to your teacher? Are you giving clear, kind, firm, and consistent commands? Are you speaking what you want, or are you only repeating what you fear? No medicine is stronger than a command delivered at the right moment, in the right frequency, with the right emotion, sent at the exact instant when the subconscious is open. And that moment could be when you place your hand over your heart. It could be when you look in the mirror and say, "I see you. I believe in you. I am with you." From this moment on, you are no longer alone. You no longer have to wait for miracles from outside, because the miracle has been waiting for you inside all along. It has never disappeared. You only forgot that you have the right to summon it. And now, as you begin to remember, that teacher is ready to begin the lesson, ready to obey, ready to heal. And it all begins with one silent question: what are you saying to yourself every day? No part of your body wakes up in the morning and decides to harm you. No cell grows abnormally just because it wants to rebel. No organ desires to weaken or shut down. Every reaction in the body, whether it is pain, inflammation, or a sudden drop in energy, is not an attack from within. They are answers. They are loyal responses to a series of instructions you have unconsciously sent. The body is not against you. It is listening to you, quietly, precisely, and more faithfully than any system you have ever known. And what it is doing is not deliberately creating pain, but carrying out exactly the commands you have been giving through repeated thoughts, words, and emotions. If you have ever said, "I can't take it anymore," the body records the pressure. If you complain, "I'm so tired," the energy glands receive the order to cut production. If you keep muttering, "I'm always sick," the immune system receives it as a rule. What you believe to be truth inside becomes the operating manual for the entire biological structure. What is striking is that the subconscious does not distinguish between a serious statement and a harmless joke. It does not need to understand metaphors. It does not analyze context. It does not ask you if you are sure. It only hears records and executes. Every time you repeat a pattern of language, it treats that as an order that must be carried out. It is ironic that people spend hours setting up intelligent systems for their homes, cars, and phones, yet forget that within them is a biological system more intelligent than all of those combined, waiting for instructions, and they end up giving the wrong commands. They believe their bodies are betraying them, but in reality the body is only fulfilling its role as a perfectly obedient soldier. It does not doubt. It does not resist. It only does what the mind continuously sends. Therefore, if a person lives in constant fear of illness, the body, forbidden to evaluate, will gradually produce the corresponding symptoms. Not to cause harm, but because it believes that is what you are expecting. Every symptom you feel begins with a chain of uncontrolled commands. And that does not mean you are to blame. It only means that you are operating a system of immense power without having learned how to speak to it correctly. If you understood that every word you speak is a line of code, every emotion you hold is a frequency, every belief you repeat is a control signal, then you would understand why the body behaves the way it does. There is no randomness. There is no senseless malfunction. There is only absolute loyalty to the script you did not know you were writing every single day. And like every intelligent system, the script can be rewritten. When you change the way you speak, the body adjusts the way it responds. When you change the way you perceive yourself, every cell reacts to the new definition. Imagine you are running a massive factory with thousands of workers. If you spend every day saying this work is meaningless, the product is poor, the staff is incompetent, then the factory will operate exactly that way. But if you begin to encourage, to guide, to give clear orders, to provide positive imagery, then the entire system will shift. Your body is no different. It does not invent reasons to malfunction. It simply reacts to the way you speak about it, think about it, and believe about it. All healing begins not with the first pill, but with the first command you change. Every morning, instead of asking, "Where will it hurt today?" place your hand on your weakest spot and whisper, "I know you are listening. I know you are not against me. I will speak differently. I will guide you back to order." What happens afterward is not a mystical miracle. It is intrinsic logic, a biological control system receiving new commands and beginning to realign the entire system to match the new frequency. Do not think you must understand genes, proteins, and enzymes in order to change. You do not need to know how a phone processes data to dial the number of someone you love. You only need to send the correct signal. Your body is the same. It does not require you to be a doctor. It only requires you to stop unconsciously giving negative orders and to begin giving new ones with attention, with love, with consistent repetition. People ask, how can a single word possibly heal? But they forget that it was words that created the pain. How many years have you repeated, "I am weak, I am afraid, I am sick, I am tired"? And it was precisely those chains of commands that programmed the operating system of your entire body. So why could not another set of words, "I am stronger, I am living in harmony, I am recovery itself," do the opposite? The body does not distinguish which words are true or false. It only obeys whichever words are spoken the most with the strongest emotion. And if you choose to speak differently with enough consistency, with enough conviction, then change is inevitable. The body is not a battlefield. It is an ally. It does not need to be controlled. It needs to be led. It does not demand perfection. It needs consistency. It is not against you. It never has been and never will be. It is only doing exactly what you tell it to do. If something needs to change, it is not the body. It is the command you are sending every day. And if something miraculous is to happen, it will be in the moment you choose to give a new order, with clarity, with firmness, with love. I am the source of life. I give this body life, and it is listening to me. The subconscious does not ask you right or wrong. It does not need reasoning. It does not know how to analyze grammar. It does not care whether you are speaking truth or joking, whether you repeat something by accident or on purpose. It only cares about one thing, whichever command is repeated the most with the strongest emotion. That becomes the main order, and it will execute it. No argument, no delay, no negotiation. That is why a casual phrase like "I'm dead tired" when repeated daily can create a chain of disorders in energy, the nervous system, and immunity. Not because the phrase holds mystical power, but because the subconscious interprets it as an official directive, and every cell in you begins to act accordingly. Imagine the subconscious as the central control of a city. Every word you speak is a signal of coordination. If that signal is repeated, it becomes an operating rule. If that signal carries strong emotion, whether fear, anger, or despair, it will be flagged as priority. And if that signal comes from you, the owner of the system, then the subconscious has no right to reject it. It has no function of doubt. It does not operate like consciousness, where there is reasoning, judgment, and denial. The subconscious only records and executes. Each time you say, "I will never be healthy," the subconscious will not ask, "Do you really mean that?" It only understands this is priority data, and it begins sending signals to the endocrine glands, the autonomic nervous system, the blood vessels, and the chain of biochemical reactions to adjust the body into that unhealthy state. You are not controlled by the subconscious. You are the one controlling the subconscious, through words, thoughts, and beliefs. But if you do not know you are in control, then you will keep repeating meaningless phrases every day without realizing they are becoming law. And once the law has been declared, the subconscious will enforce it at all costs. That is how a negative belief unintentionally becomes a biological reality. Not because you are unlucky, but because you did not know you were issuing orders. This is not blind faith in the power of words. This is applied physiology. Because the brain does not wait until you feel justified before responding. It reacts instantly to the signals sent by words. Remember the last time you heard something that made you angry. The body reacted immediately, your heart raced, your hands trembled, your blood pressure spiked. That was just a sentence. No knife stabbing, no physical collision. Yet it redirected your entire nervous system. Similarly, a positive affirmation, when spoken at the right time in the right way, with the right frequency of emotion, can slow your heartbeat, deepen your breath, relax you, and calm your entire nervous system in just minutes. That is not illusion. That is the feedback law of the subconscious in response to language. And this law does not care who you are. It only cares what you are saying, and what you are repeating long enough to become a foundational signal. Every sentence you utter is a line of code. Every emotion attached is the fuel that powers the code. And every image you visualize as you speak is the graphic rendering of the command. The subconscious loves clarity. The clearer, the easier to execute. That is why an affirmation like "I am recovering cell by cell" is far more effective than "I hope I'll be okay." Because the first is a direct order. The second is doubt. The subconscious does not serve doubt. It only serves commands defined with decisiveness. To reprogram the subconscious, you do not need to wait for emotions to peak. You only need to begin steadily and stay consistent with intentional words. An affirmation such as "I am," life flowing through every vein when repeated each morning and night, becomes the code that resets the center. At first you may feel nothing, but do not be mistaken. The subconscious does not wait for feeling. It only waits for repetition. And when repetition is enough, it will send new signals to organs, to hormone glands, to muscle tissues. And the body, like a loyal machine, begins to restructure itself according to the new belief. The world has taught you to doubt, to analyze, to rationalize. But the subconscious does not need you to be clever. It only needs you to be clear. No vagueness, no interruption, no half-belief, half-doubt. If you say "I am healing" while fear lingers, the subconscious will record fear as the main signal, not the content of the phrase. But if you say "I am healing" with steady breath, peaceful eyes, and a vivid image of the body recovering, then that is a complete directive, and that directive will be stored as priority. Remember, you are communicating with a system that does not analyze language, but only reacts to the total signal, including words, emotions, and imagery. You may say 1,000 sentences each day, but if only a few are spoken with true conviction, then only those become commands. So do not count the number of times you speak. Measure the truth within you as you speak. One affirmation with full presence carries more power than 100 mechanical repetitions. The subconscious is waiting for you to speak clearly. It is listening to you every minute, and it has no opinion of its own. It only executes. The question is, what are you saying? What orders are you giving? What code are you choosing to run yourself on? There is no automatic suffering, only old commands not yet erased and new commands not yet installed. And the absolutely crucial truth is that you can rewrite everything, beginning with the very words you speak today. No system within you is independent. No heart beats simply because it feels like beating. No liver chooses how to metabolize without orders. Every part of the body, from the tiny thyroid to the complex nervous system, is a devoted student, and you are the teacher every day. Yet the strange thing is that most people are not aware they are teaching. They complain, accuse, criticize, and curse their bodies, without realizing that every word is a lesson being recorded daily by students named heart, lungs, spine, stomach. Each time you say, "I hate this," aching back your spine receives the signal, "I am not accepted." Each time you sigh and say, "My liver is so weak that organ hears I am not good enough," you do not need to be a doctor to command the body. You have been the commander long before you ever read your first anatomy book. What you think, what you feel, and what you repeat in your mind, that is the curriculum applied to every organ, every cell, every biological structure within you. Imagine walking into a classroom where the students are your heart, lungs, stomach, kidneys, liver, adrenal glands, immune system. Every morning you enter the room, stand before them all, and begin the lesson with a phrase, "I'm exhausted." You never listen. Everything is falling apart. Then you walk out expecting harmony, resilience, and a sense of wellness. Does that make sense? Yet that is exactly what you do to your body every day, when you do not realize you are teaching it with every word you speak. The body does not learn through books. The body learns through inner experience. Every state you live in each day, worry, blame, expectation, pressure, rejection, is a lesson written onto the students called organs. And conversely, when you live in states of acceptance, support, gratitude, clear guidance, and loving affirmations, you become a wise teacher. No long lectures are required. Only intentional repetition, because the students inside you do not learn quickly, but they learn deeply, and once they have learned, they will live by what you have taught. If you have ever suffered stomach pain, remember how many times you swallowed anger, repressed unspoken words, or carried pressure in silence. If you have ever felt back pain, recall how many burdens you shouldered, how many responsibilities you bore without daring to let go. If you have ever felt whole body fatigue, ask yourself how long it has been since you last spoke kind words to yourself, instead of endlessly pushing, forcing, and criticizing yourself day after day. Every symptom is a reflection, not of error, but of lessons the students have mastered too well. And to heal, you do not need to punish the students. You only need to change the way you teach. Begin with a new classroom, the classroom of kindness. Call each student by name, each organ, each part within you, and tell them what you truly want them to hear. Dear heart, you don't have to rush. I am here with you. Dear liver, you are strong enough to transform, but you do not have to bear all pain alone. Dear spine, I will no longer force you to strain. I will support you with love, not with responsibility. When you begin to speak as a conscious teacher, the body will begin to listen as obedient students. They are not against you. They are only doing exactly what you have taught them, even if that teaching came from years of neglect, unconsciousness, and self-harm. Words are not just tools for sharing information. In the inner world, words are keys. A sentence filled with love can unlock a wound memory stored in the cells for decades. An apology whispered to a painful region of the body can release a tension never touched before. A firm affirmation, like "I see you, I am here with you, I will not abandon you again," can melt the frozen layers of a tissue hardened by the inner fear of abandonment, because the body is a student, and you are the only teacher it learns from each day. Do not wait until illness arrives to begin the conversation. Do not only touch your stomach in pain to finally apologize to your liver. Do not only clutch your chest when struggling to breathe to finally remember your heart. Practice speaking to your body as you would to a student in need of guidance, not as a troublemaker. Build a classroom with no judgment, only understanding. No coercion, only direction. No punishment, only guidance. And you will see that miracles do not happen through hammers of medicine or surgical blades, but through your own voice spoken each day with true presence. Every organ is listening, every system is waiting, and the body does not demand perfection from you. It only needs you to remember you are teaching it how to live, every hour, every minute, every word you utter. And you can restart that classroom, right now, with one gentle, clear and steady command. You are not wrong. It was only that I once taught you poorly. Now I will teach you again, with love, with trust and with the patience this body has always deserved. No thought vanishes into nothingness. No word stops at the lips. Every idea you repeat, whether unintentionally or deliberately, is like a small seed, and the place where it falls is nothing other than the cells of your body. These seeds are not planted just once. They are watered by emotion, nourished by repetition, and one day they sprout into tangible forms within biological structures, within organ functions, within the state of health you are experiencing. This is not mysticism. This is biology operating under the mind. Imagine each cell as a handful of fertile soil. It does not choose its own seed. It does not resist any order you send. What you think most often, what you say most loudly, what you feel most deeply, that is what gets planted. A person who constantly thinks I am weak is sowing a seed that weakens the immune system. A person who repeatedly says I am incapable is planting the seed of disrupted vitality hormones and destabilized nervous balance. Conversely, a person who plants daily affirmations like I am recovering or my body knows how to heal is giving the cells seeds that are received as directives for regeneration. You do not need to understand the entire language of biology to know this. The mind is the gardener and the body is the soil that never refuses. Repetition is the water, emotion is the sunlight, and belief is the fertilizer. When a thought is repeated often enough, when the emotion attached is clear enough, and when you truly believe it to be true, that triad forms a complete biological cycle, and the seed begins to grow. At first you will not see results. The surface of the body may appear unchanged, but inside the cells have already begun transforming. The endocrine glands have adjusted their flows, the enzymes have shifted their cycles of reaction, and the nervous system has begun redistributing signals. No one sees a tree the moment its sprout breaks through the soil. But if you do not stop watering, if you do not stop shining light, and if you keep sowing with intentional words, the tree of belief will grow into biology. There is no randomness in thought habits. Every pattern of thinking you choose to repeat leaves traces, not only in the soul, but on the skin, in the blood, in the muscles, in the bones. A person who thinks negatively is not only sad inside, but their digestion will be disrupted. Detoxification will decline, and their heartbeat will shift. A person who thinks optimistically is not only cheerful in the mind, but also regulates blood pressure, calms stress responses, and enhances physical endurance. What you call personality is becoming biological tissue. What you call belief is forming cellular patterns, and once embedded deeply enough it becomes structure, no longer just a psychological state, but a physiological operating system. That is why daily words must not be taken lightly. No sentence is just a joke. For the subconscious there is no joke. For the cell there is no humor. There are only signals. And as long as signals are sent consistently, they are received as vital orders. Saying I can't breathe when anxious, even if not true, still sends the command to constrict the chest. Complaining I'm out of energy after a long day still instructs the adrenal system to lower secretion. Each time you let words precede belief, you open the door to a new cycle, whether a cycle of recovery or a cycle of decline. So what should you do, Recede? Repeat what you want to grow. Turn words into a tool for intentional planting, not a reflex of resignation. You do not need to speak loudly. You only need to speak consistently. A whispered phrase, "In the morning I am deeply recovering," can alter your entire endocrine flow for that day. A nightly reminder, "I thank my body for working silently," can release anger stored in tense tissues. And a profound affirmation, "Every cell in me is choosing life," repeated daily, will become a new rhythm for the heart, liver, lungs, kidneys, and the whole biological system. No word is meaningless when it comes from true presence. And no word is ineffective if it is repeated long enough. Remember this, the body does not disobey orders. The body only executes. Cells do not argue. Cells only follow. And you, through every thought, every word, every stream of emotion sustained consistently, are the one planting the entire biological garden of yourself. No one can do it for you. No one can sow a positive seed for you if you are still scattering complaints, doubts, and judgments. And equally, no one can stop a body from recovering if the seeds you plant are gratitude, patience, and unshakable faith that I am the master of this garden, and I choose to reseed it from today. It is not that the body betrays you. It is not that it suddenly malfunctions. There is no such thing as the body turning against its owner. What is happening is simply this: the body is so loyal that it obeys every negative belief you have repeated. Illness is not the enemy. It is the loyal outcome. It is living evidence that the body has listened, has followed, has faithfully complied with what you, through words, thoughts, and emotions, have continuously sent to it. Every symptom is a biological copy of an inner message. Every pain is an echo of a belief deeply ingrained, and every disorder present is the body's honest response to the orders you once gave, perhaps years ago. The body does not know how to pretend. It does not know how to resist orders. If you believe you are weak, the immune system will adjust to match that belief. If you believe you are fragile, the biological defense systems will begin to overact, causing inflammation, allergies, and imbalance. If you believe I cannot heal, the body understands that regeneration is no longer needed, and it will gradually slow or even stop its natural healing mechanisms. This is not punishment. This is loyalty. Your body has no ego. It does not judge you as right or wrong. It only operates according to the strongest inner directive and executes with the full dedication of a student who never rebels. The paradox is this: the more anger you feel toward illness, the more you despise symptoms, the more you fear your body. The clearer the message you are sending that the body is the source of disorder, and it will repeat exactly that state, with corresponding biological responses. Illness becomes a loop, not because it is strong, but because the false belief has been etched deeply and has not been replaced. Just like a program installed on a computer, if no new command is given, it will continue running the old code, even if that code is creating errors. Many people believe illness is something that invades from outside, but most chronic disorders, prolonged fatigue, hormonal imbalances, weakened immunity, arise from within. They do not begin with a virus or bacteria. They begin with the thought, I am not okay, something is wrong with me, I cannot escape this. When that thought is repeated every day, supported by emotions and behaviors, the body accepts it as an urgent order to be made real. And illness does not come to harm you. It comes to prove that the body has followed the owner's directive. Illness is also a message. It is not just a manifestation, it is a conversation. Every symptom is the body's language telling you, Master, this is the result of what you believe. This is how I respond to the fear, anger, hurt, and disappointment you never allowed yourself to release. I am not creating this to oppose you. I am creating it because you broadcasted this signal, and I, like a loyal soldier, am only fulfilling my duty. Imagine you have a faithful assistant. Every word you speak, every emotion you display, every memory you hold, that assistant records and acts upon. You cannot blame them when they do exactly what you once instructed. The body is the same. If you once said, I am tired of this life, it will begin to withdraw energy from circulation, lower serotonin, slow digestion, all just to help you tired, exactly as the belief says. If you once thought, I don't deserve to live healthy, then the cells will not prioritize regeneration, will not open recovery channels, because the order you gave was already too clear. But the good news is, this beliefs can be changed. And once belief changes, the body's response changes with it. You do not need to force the body to stop being ill. You only need to begin speaking differently, thinking differently, feeling differently, consistently, persistently, and without sending the old signal again. Illness will have no reason to persist if the command beneath it has disappeared. The body is not stubborn, it is only waiting to be guided anew. And that guidance begins with an inner decision: I will no longer live by old beliefs. I am choosing again. I am broadcasting a new message that I am worthy of health, of balance, of original vitality. No one can do that for you, and no one can take away your privilege of resetting your biological operating system with new mental signals. The body is a perfect copy of the subconscious, and illness, whether painful, uncomfortable, or prolonged, is not a sentence. It is a response, a loyal, precise, and respectful response to what you once believed. But the moment you change the root of belief, the entire inner mechanism will restructure itself, not because it is forced, but because it has always been loyal to you, both in false belief and in awakened truth. No prescription, no doctor's order, yet every day you are taking a dose of medicine through the very words you speak. The strange thing is that most people are unaware they are using one of the most powerful substances on the planet, capable of killing a belief or restoring a body, in just a few sentences. Words are not invisible, They carry energy. They touch soft tissue, they touch cells, they touch the nervous system, and either awaken or damage the entire biological process unfolding inside. And the crucial truth is this: no one else decides whether you take poison or medicine. Only you. Each morning when you wake, you can say, "Today I'll be tired, another long day." Or you can say, "My body is growing stronger by the hour." One phrase sends the entire immune system into a defensive state. The other directs the entire endocrine system toward balance. Same situation, same person, same reality, but words have created two completely different biological universes. Words are not just descriptions, they are directives, they are control codes, they are tools that directly affect your existence in every moment. No cell is immune to signals. Every blood vessel, every endocrine gland, every region of the brain carries receptors that receive commands, and the words you speak are those commands. When you say, "I can't take this anymore," the sympathetic nervous system immediately ramps up, activating cortisol, making the heart beat faster, slowing digestion and pulling energy away from non-essential functions. Not because you are weak, but because the body believes there is real danger, simply because you broadcasted that signal. On the other hand, when you whisper, "I am strong enough to move through this," the parasympathetic nervous system begins to activate, causing organs to relax, hormones to balance, and cells to enter a state of regeneration. Words have just become antidote. Every word you speak is a prescription. The phrase, "I don't know if I'll make it," is an immunosuppressant pill. The phrase, "I am learning to trust my recovery process," is a stem cell stimulating pill. You don't need to master biology to see this truth. Just look back at your own life during the times when you spoke to yourself with negativity, disappointment, and bitterness. How did your body respond? And during the times when you softened, encouraged yourself, reassured yourself with warm words, how did the recovery unfold? The body always reflects the words you speak, without delay. The painful reality is that most people poison themselves daily with repeated phrases like, "I am useless," "I'm always sick and never get better," "There must be something wrong with me." They don't call it a curse, but it is the most subtle curse of all, because it is wrapped in the guise of truth, of experience, of difficult reality. Yet a phrase, even if accurate to the circumstance, if it does not uplift the inner self, is still poison. And a phrase, even if not yet true in reality, if it plants hope and sends a healing signal, is still medicine. So what medicine are you taking every day? Do you notice in small conversations, in private thoughts, no one else hears what doses you are administering? Every time you scold yourself, every time you judge your body, every time you doubt your recovery, that is a dose weakening your immune system. And conversely, every time you embrace yourself with a positive word, every time you remind yourself to persist, every time you say, "My body is listening and I will speak words that lift it," that is a dose activating the deepest healing within. You don't need to change everything at once. You only need to change the first words you speak each morning. Begin with a simple but firm sentence. "Today I will speak to my body with respect." From there, you will become conscious of every word that leaves your mouth, not to force control, but to make intentional choices. You are still allowed to complain, but end it with a positive affirmation. You are still allowed to feel tired, but remember to whisper to yourself, "I am recovering hour by hour." Words are the first and strongest tool to rewrite the biological map in every cell. No one can label your words as medicine or poison for you. Only you know which you are using. And the good news is you can change the prescription right now. No script needed, no permission required. All it takes is for you to sit down, take a deep breath, and speak. With presence, with kindness, with conscious choice. I choose to use my words as medicine. I refuse to poison myself any longer. From today, every sentence I speak will be one step closer to life. The body is listening. The cells are waiting for signals. And your words, however small, however whispered, can still be the greatest miracle you have been waiting for all your life. Not all words carry the same power. The very same sentence, when spoken with intense emotion, becomes an urgent command, delivered into the nervous system, triggering a cascade of biochemical reactions deep within the body. Emotion is the catalyst. Without emotion, words are echoes that pass without leaving a trace. But when a sentence is carried by pain, anger, fear, or by hope, trust, gratitude, it transforms into biological code, and the cells not only listen, they begin to act. A person cries out in despair, "I can't take this anymore." That statement does not vanish into the air. It enters the adrenal glands, raises cortisol secretion, accelerates the heartbeat, constricts blood vessels, disrupts digestion, and sets off a chain of effects later labeled chronic stress. Yet the very same person on a calm morning, if they repeat that phrase merely as a confession, the body hardly reacts. The difference lies in the level of emotion. Emotion is the switch that turns the whole biological system on or off into balance or into disorder. Imagine a command written on paper. That is the word. But if the command is stamped urgent, signed by a commander marked as priority, it will be carried out immediately. That is the role of emotion. Emotion turns words into true biochemical signals. It penetrates the deepest layer of the subconscious, where there is no distinction between right and wrong, only reaction to energy frequency. Saying I am sick with mild boredom creates only slight interference, but saying the same phrase in panic, in fear of death, triggers hundreds of chain reactions, worsening the condition in alignment with that emotional directive. This happens in the opposite direction too. A positive statement without accompanying emotion is just a thin coat of paint over fear. You may say, I am healthy 10 times, but if inside you do not believe, do not feel, do not touch the vibration of that belief, the body is still hearing a conflicting signal. Emotion is the living proof the subconscious uses to determine how much you truly believe what you say. And only when words are paired with emotions that are clear, consistent, and genuine are they strong enough to alter biological processes. That is why in any process of inner healing it is not enough to have the right words. You must have the right emotion, not forced expression, but learning to reconnect with the deeper layer of feeling so that when you say something like, I am healing, you actually feel it happening. No need for display, only authenticity. A gentle warmth radiating from the center of the chest may be the sign that the command has been successfully delivered. Emotion does not need to be grand, it only needs to be consistent. Emotion does not need to be artificially positive, it only needs to be free of interference from doubt. A small feeling of gratitude, a gentle tenderness toward yourself, a moment of compassion for the body can sometimes be more powerful than 1,000 affirmations repeated without connection. Conversely, repressed emotions, anger, resentment, helplessness left unexpressed, will accompany daily words like a slow-acting poison. The body cannot pretend it does not hear. Every time you speak something, pause for half a second to ask, with what emotion am I saying this? Am I sending out a command for life, or accidentally pressing the cancel button? Because emotion is the temperature of words. When the temperature is high enough, biological molecules begin to vibrate. When the emotional energy is strong enough, the immune system begins to respond, regenerative processes switch on, enzymes start working in alignment with the new signal, and the entire body begins reprogramming itself from the root. Some people say, I love my body yet feel nothing, because the phrase lacked the catalyst. Others simply place a hand on their heart, whisper, thank you for still being alive, and tears flow. That is when emotion becomes the conductor. That is when the body recognizes a true command from the heart. You cannot direct biology without touching vibration. You cannot self-heal without speaking through connected emotion. Practice with small things. When you drink water, say, this water is reviving every cell in me, and feel as though it is truly happening. When you step into the morning light, say, this light is awakening my nervous system, and sense the current of life moving. When you touch your body, whisper, thank you for still serving me, even though I once spoke harshly to you, and feel a silent wave of healing begin to spread. Do not let words remain mere language. Let them become vibration. Because in the end, what the body hears is not the letters, but the frequency of the emotion carried with them. And it is at that deepest level that recovery begins. You do not need to wait for the right chance. You do not need to wait until you are already well to speak healing words. Begin today, with true emotion, and let your body, perhaps for the first time, receive a command that is clear, aligned, and compassionate. I believe in healing, and I am feeling it, right now. There is a moment each day that most people overlook, yet it is the very moment when the power to reshape the entire biological destiny opens. That moment is right before you drift into sleep. As brain waves shift from wakefulness to drowsiness, the boundary between consciousness and the subconscious fades, unveiling a golden hour, where every word, every image, every final emotion of the day sinks deeply into the control center, beneath your entire body. And in that moment, whatever you plant will bloom within your cells when you wake the next morning. The subconscious does not rest. While you sleep, it continues to work. It keeps processing the information. You fed it during the day, keeps running the automatic systems, immunity, endocrine digestion, tissue regeneration, toxin elimination. But here is the key: the subconscious always prioritizes the very last instructions it received before sleep. If those instructions are fear, worry, anger, then throughout the night the body remains in a state of alert. If those instructions are love, healing, gratitude, then the body shifts into deep, peaceful, and positive restoration. That is why the last thing you say to yourself each night is not just a repetition, it is the deepest form of programming. It is like writing a piece of code before shutting down a computer, and the system automatically runs that code all night long. You cannot control the entire biological process while you sleep, but you can absolutely decide the starting point. And that starting point, if set correctly, changes the way your body regenerates, recovers, and rebalances. If you go to bed after arguments, complaints, scrolling through negative news, or tossing in worry, you are planting a command of disorder, and the subconscious will interpret that state as a priority to maintain. But if you go to bed with words like, "I am healing with every second I sleep," or "My body is recovering gently and deeply," then you are setting up a natural recovery program without force. Like placing a soft melody to play all night, the subconscious will choose to follow the tune you select. Before falling asleep, you do not need to say much. Just one sentence, but it must be clear, emotional, and consistent. It could be, "I allow my body to restore completely tonight," or "Every cell is listening to me and I speak goodness," or simply, "Thank you for this day, thank you that I am still alive." These sentences, repeated in that half-conscious state, when the mind has dropped its defenses, go straight into the operating system. And the next morning you will feel the difference, not from outside, but from deep within. You can create a bedtime ritual, a candlelight, a wordless melody, a deep breath, a hand resting on your chest, a whispered phrase. Not to beg for a miracle, but to remind yourself your body needs a clear signal before it begins repairing itself. Every night is an opportunity for healing. And if you say nothing, the subconscious will default to the last signal it picked up, whether that came from anger, fear, or exhaustion. So why not choose to consciously send a loving command? You do not need to believe 100% at first, but you must commit to never again planting poison during that golden hour. You must pause before sleep and ask, "Is this sentence worthy of being sown into my nervous system for 8 hours? If not, replace it. Choose again. Speak as though every cell is standing by awaiting instruction, because in truth they are. And when they receive a signal that is right, gentle, and full of trust, they will respond with a pace of recovery you never thought possible. Sleep is not just rest. Sleep is a healing journey, and you are the one who writes the ticket for that journey through the words you speak as you close your eyes. Try saying, "I am safe. I am supported. I am being renewed every second of this sleep." And let a gentle feeling spread through your body like waves reaching the shore. The body understands. The cells listen. And recovery begins, not with harsh orders, but with a tender voice spoken at the right time. That is the power you have always had, but never used correctly. From today, do one simple thing: never end a day without giving yourself a healing command. Do not let sleep be seized by worry. Do not let the body enter dreams without direction. Be the guide for yourself, beginning with the golden hour before sleep, because in that silence, whatever you plant will grow into biological reality overnight. The heart is not just a blood pump. It is a faithful interpreter between the mind and the body. When your mind is restless, it beats faster. When you are anxious, it races. When you are at peace, it softens like a calm sea. The heartbeat does not lie. It is a background melody that reveals your entire attitude toward life. And more profoundly, the heart does not only reflect emotions, it is also the place that receives the subtlest commands from thoughts, words, energy, and unspoken feelings. Every time you speak a sentence loaded with pressure, your body hears it. But your heart is the first to respond. It does not wait until the thought is finished. It does not ask whether it is right or wrong. It only measures energy. If that energy contains resistance, fear, or resentment, the heart immediately changes its rhythm. If that energy contains gratitude, forgiveness, or love, the heart adjusts as well, but in the direction of healing. That is why those who live in constant criticism, worry, or torment often have irregular heartbeats, high blood pressure, and insomnia. The heart is not broken, it is simply trying to obey. Conversely, when you begin speaking to your body with positivity, gentleness, reassurance, the first thing to heal is not your skin, liver, or lungs, but your heartbeat. The heart is the first radar station of energy. It does not need you to understand physiology to begin shifting. It only needs you to pause for a few minutes each day to send it a healing signal. A simple phrase, "Thank you, my heart, for working silently." That sentence alone is enough for millions of cardiac cells to adjust their contraction frequency into a steadier, gentler rhythm. There are moments when you feel unsettled without knowing why. You call it stress, but in truth your heart is sounding the alarm by beating faster, trying to compensate for the disorder in your unprocessed thoughts. An increased heartbeat is not always caused by exercise or disease. It rises because you are living too fast, speaking too quickly, thinking too much, and leaving emotions undigested. The heart hears all of it and struggles to keep you alive. But if you never pause, it will exhaust itself before you do. You cannot separate your heart from the way you live. No pill can heal a heart straining under a soul that has never been soothed. But you can begin healing from within, through attitude. A way of living that is tolerant, accepting, non-resistant, non-judging, will naturally slow the heartbeat. And after just a few days of living in that energy, the heart will remember its natural rhythm. Gentle, steady, unhurried. Try one small practice whenever you feel your heartbeat rising abnormally. Do not panic. Do not resist. Simply place your hand on your chest, breathe slowly and ask, "What signal am I sending to my heart right now?" That question alone awakens a layer of awareness. And when you realize you are worrying, blaming, or doubting, then change the words. Whisper, "I am safe. I release lightly." At that moment, the heart does not just hear, it begins to adjust. The heart does not need ornate words, it needs sincerity. A false phrase will make it react as though deceived, but a statement born of acceptance, however small, will melt its ice. When you say, "Even if today is not perfect, I am still grateful to be alive," you are reviving something very deep within yourself. The heartbeat will reflect that instantly, because the heart does not need you to succeed. It only needs you to return to the state of true living. And then a miracle occurs when the heartbeat stabilizes the entire body, begins to respond as if it has just received a message of safety. The brain releases more serotonin, muscles relax, digestion resumes. The skin brightens, the eyes sparkle, not because of cosmetics, but because the nervous system has stopped issuing warnings. All from one simple shift. The heart no longer needs to be on guard against your own mind. From today, see the heartbeat as the navigation map of your lifestyle. When the heartbeat slows, you know you are on the right path. When it spikes, review the energy you just released. And each day, before sleeping or after waking, do not forget to send your heart a thank you. It has beaten millions of times for you, never once stopping, even when you ignored it, even when you lived so fast that you could not hear its whisper from your chest. But now you know the heart knows how to listen, and it always reflects your attitude toward life, beat by beat, not condemning, not punishing, only reflecting. So choose to live so that every heartbeat is a symphony of gentleness, awareness, and compassion toward yourself. Because once your heart is at peace, the entire inner world begins to revive. The heart is not a machine that only pumps blood. It has memory sensitivity and responds like a delicate child, perceptive, vulnerable, and absolutely loyal. Every word you speak, no matter how small, no matter how fleeting in your mind, is a lesson, a message, a signal, etched deeply into the language of the body. And if you see the heart as a child, you will begin to understand why it needs to be spoken to with love. Not reproach, not threat, not neglect. A child who is scolded withdraws. The heart does the same. When you live in criticism, it contracts. When you live in fear, it speeds up. When you force yourself to endure without acknowledging your feelings, your heart bears the weight instead. But when you sit down, place your hand over your chest and whisper, "It's okay, I'm here now." The heartbeat slows, the breath softens, and the entire body enters a peace that no medicine can truly replicate. The way you speak to the heart decides how it functions. If you treat it like a machine, you will ignore all of its hidden cries. But if you treat it as a child, trying its best just to keep you alive, then you will understand that every palpitation, every skipped beat, every sudden ache is not a sign of malfunction but a voice that has never been heard. A child never screams without reason. It cries only when there is no other way to be noticed. The heart is the same. Each day, no matter how busy, take a few minutes to speak to your heart as though you were soothing a child, gently, with empathy, without pressure, without command. Simply, "Thank you for trying. I know today was tiring, but things will be okay. We don't need to keep running, let's rest for a while." These sentences are not surface-level encouragement. They are vital orders, because when you use words of genuine love, the heart does not just hear. It transforms, self-adjusts, and retrains your entire nervous system in how to live more slowly. A child does not need theory. It needs presence. The heart is the same. You don't need to repeat an affirmation 100 times. Just one phrase, spoken once with sincerity, is enough for the heart to remember. Like when you whisper, "I am here with you," no one will abandon you anymore. The heart deep within is the storehouse of unspoken wounds from childhood, from loss, from rejection, insult, abandonment. And if you never return to comfort it, it will continue to cry out through countless irregular beats that you mistake for illness, when in truth it is loneliness never held. You may have wished for others to heal you, but the only person who can truly do that is you. Begin by speaking to the heart as a gentle mother would, as a close friend would, as a compassionate guide would. No one understands your heart more than you, but you must learn to listen again to that buried voice, not through monitors, but through silence, through presence, through a gentle touch on your chest accompanied by the words, "You are not alone." Whenever you find yourself swept up in worries, pause for a moment and ask, "What does my heart need right now?" You don't need to answer immediately. Just asking is enough to soften the invisible tension you have carried on your chest for so long. When the heart is asked, when it is heard, it no longer screams. It returns to its natural rhythm, steady, trusting, relaxed. A loved heart is the foundation for a body that knows how to heal itself. Remember the image of a frightened child in the night, calmed with just an embrace and a whispered reassurance, able to sleep again. Your heart is the same. It doesn't need you to be strong all the time. It needs you to be gentle. It doesn't need you to control. It needs you to guide. And when you learn to speak to your heart as though speaking to the child you once were, you are truly opening the door to the deepest renewal from the inside out. No one can do this for you, but you can always begin tonight. Turn off the lights, close your eyes, place your hand on your chest, and whisper a simple phrase you once wished someone had said to you as a child. Everything will be okay. I'm not leaving you. And you will feel something strange, a heartbeat shifting, a deeper breath, a warm tear. That is the signal your heart has heard, and it has begun to believe again, because at last it is being loved in the right way, like a child worthy of care and protection. Breath is not a mere unconscious act. It is a delicate yet steady bridge connecting two worlds, the visible world of the body and the invisible world of the soul. When you inhale, you are receiving life from the universe. When you exhale, you are releasing what the body no longer needs, and sometimes what the mind has held onto for too long: fear, worry, anger, doubt. Breath is the only function you can both control and let go to operate on its own. And it is exactly at the boundary between control and surrender that miracles begin to happen. You can live weeks without food. You can live days without water. But you cannot live more than a few minutes without breathing. This does not only point to the physiological role of oxygen, but it is also a subtle reminder that breath itself is the rhythm connecting physical existence with spiritual presence. And no matter how chaotic the outside world may be, the moment you return to the breath, you return to your center. There is no panic, only rhythm, gentle, deep, steady, full of life. It is no coincidence that in every ancient meditative tradition, breath is always the starting point. Because when you regulate the breath, you are regulating the entire bioelectric current flowing through the body. A deep breath can change the nervous system state from stress to relaxation within minutes. But more profoundly, every time you exhale slowly, you are releasing a layer of fear from the subconscious. And every time you inhale fully, you are welcoming belief, vitality, and strength back into your cells. Imagine the body as a vessel and fear as stagnant air inside. If you never exhale fully, that fear stays accumulating day after day, month after month. But if you exhale completely, unhurried, unforced, you are opening the door for the body to self-purify. And only when you empty the vessel inside can the breath have space to carry true life in. Inhale, you receive. Exhale, you release. That rhythm is the quietest song of healing you carry throughout life, but may have long forgotten. When you are anxious, the breath is shallow. When you panic, the breath is short and rapid. When you are angry, you hold your breath. And when you are grieving, you breathe as if gasping. It is not that your body is broken. It is that your emotions have taken control of the breath, and the breath is reflecting exactly what you dare not admit in words. But the reverse is also true. If you change your breath, you change your emotions. You do not need to suppress fear. You only need to breathe properly long enough, and fear dissolves on its own. Learn to see breath as a loyal companion, always present, always waiting for you to return. No matter what the outer world looks like, whether you fail or succeed, the moment you return to your breath, you are stepping back onto the firmest foundation, the present. All healing begins in this moment, and this moment only exists when you are truly present in each breath. No analysis, no judgment, only awareness. You do not need to become a meditation expert. Simply place one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest, close your eyes, and inhale slowly through the nose. Count 4 beats, hold for 4 beats. Then exhale long through the mouth, 6 or 8 beats. Repeat, no rush, no forcing, just like that. Each cycle of breath is an affirmation: I'm returning to myself. And after a few minutes you will feel a different kind of energy flowing through you. Light, gentle, safe, that is you. The version no longer controlled by fear. If you have ever gone through trauma, if you have ever been breathless in panic, if you have ever woken in the night with chest tightness for no clear reason, then your body has been reminding you breathe again properly. Not just to live, but to heal. Breath is the message of the soul sent to the flesh, and when the two merge as one, you become whole. No need to escape, no need to control, just presence. Inhale life. Exhale fear, like the tide receding, carrying away the dust of the subconscious. You cannot control everything that happens, but you always have the power to master the breath. And when you choose to return to it each day, just for a few minutes, you are choosing to reopen the gateway between soul and body. That is where true energy flows. That is where you are no longer fragmented. And from that place, every command sent to your cells will carry the signal of life, no longer the commands of fear. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: you always carry that key in every breath. No one can take it. No one can control it. All you need to remember is this: every time you inhale, you are choosing to live again, and every time you exhale, you are choosing to let go. True freedom does not begin outside. It begins with the first breath you consciously reclaim, instead of letting emotions breathe for you. And when you live like that, breath by breath, day by day, you yourself become a walking healing for your own being and for everyone around you. Breath is the rhythm of life. Words are the command. But when you combine the two, when you learn to breathe with words, you are not only nourishing the body, you are also reprogramming the deepest layer of the subconscious. It is no longer just the act of inhaling and exhaling in silence, but a sacred ritual where each breath carries an affirmation full of energy, a loving message, a clear directive sent to every cell in the body. You can breathe just to survive, but if you stop at mere survival, you miss the chance to use breath as a tool of reconstruction. The question is, what are you inhaling and what are you exhaling? If you breathe unconsciously, you are simply repeating old patterns. But if you pair each breath with the right phrase, the right energy, the right belief, the right vibration, then every breath becomes a biological command that enters your blood, your nervous system, your immune system, and even your destiny. Imagine this: as you inhale, you silently say in your mind, I receive life. As you hold the breath for a few seconds, you say, I hold the light in every cell. And as you exhale slowly, you whisper, I release fear. I set body and mind free. Repeat this for 5 cycles. Each cycle not only calms the nervous system, but also reprograms the entire energy field surrounding you. You are no longer simply someone who breathes. You are becoming someone who rebirths yourself with words. This is not shallow, positive affirmations, because if words are not accompanied by emotion and not anchored to breath, they pass through the conscious mind without ever reaching the subconscious. But when words are spoken during breathing, or whispered in sync with the rhythm of breath, the brain registers them as an important signal, the nervous system receives them as a directive, and the whole body begins to respond. That is what breathing with words is, a technique that merges physical life and conscious energy into a single movement. You can choose any affirmation that fits the state you want to create. When you need safety, I am protected. When you need healing, every cell in me is restoring. When you need release, I exhale and let go of all that no longer serves me. When you need self-love, I am worthy of love from within. Each of these statements does not need to be long, but the crucial part is that you must connect with it. You must believe even just 1%, and breath will help you amplify that belief day by day. The best times to practice breathing with words are in the morning, right after waking, or at night before sleep, because that is when the brain shifts into alpha state, where the subconscious opens and is most receptive to programming. Just 5 minutes each time. You do not need to meditate for hours. You only need a quiet place. Close your eyes, place a hand on your belly, and begin the cycle of inhale, hold, exhale. In each stage, attach a specific phrase gently without force. And just like that, you breathe as a ritual, not merely as a biological function. There is a secret few people realize. It is the gentle emotional repetition during breathing that changes the subconscious, not the effort of forcing yourself to think positively. When you force, the body contracts. But when you breathe, you soften, you open. And it is then that every affirmation you utter truly enters the deepest layers of your being. That is where words become chemicals, neural signals, muscle reflexes, heartbeat, and finally become reality. If you have ever tried to recite affirmations daily but saw no results, it may be because you never tied them to the breath. An empty phrase changes nothing, but a phrase coupled with conscious breathing becomes medicine. When you say, "I am recovering," while breathing steadily, you are sending a signal to the immune system. When you say, "I am safe," while breathing slowly, you are lowering cortisol levels and activating the brain's relaxation mode. Science has proven this, but you do not need to wait for science. You only need to feel it in yourself. From today, do not just breathe. Breathe with words. Let every inhale become an intentional receiving. Let every exhale become a meaningful release. Let every word become a current of air that nourishes the body. And let every minute of stillness become a sacred ritual of return. No altar is needed. No religion is required. Only breath and the right phrase, and you already have everything. And when you sustain this daily, you will see the body no longer reacts blindly. It begins to obey, because you no longer speak aimlessly. Every word now comes with rhythm. And when words, breath, emotion, and will unite as one, then your entire being is no longer divided. That is when healing no longer needs to be sought outside. It begins right here, in this breath, with the phrase you choose. The spine is not merely a skeletal structure that keeps you upright. It is the central energy pillar of the entire body, the pathway through which every nervous impulse travels, the channel where signals between brain and body are constantly transmitted. Each vertebra is a small hinge, but stacked together they form a living spine. A vertical axis that not only supports the physical body but also vividly reflects how you live, think, and feel within. If your inner being is bent, the spine will reflect it. If you have carried burdens too long, your back will stoop. And if you live in a state of pressure, control, or withdrawal, the axis of the spine will contract, curve, even stiffen. For the body always expresses what the mind tries to conceal. The spine is the high voltage line of the nervous system. Within it, the spinal cord functions like an information highway, transmitting orders from the brain to every organ. Any interruption along this journey can create biological stagnation. Yet beneath that medical function lies a subtler truth. The spine is a map of trapped emotions, of buried memories, of life choices you have never fully acknowledged. When anger, grief, guilt, or fear are suppressed for years without release, the body stores those energies at weak points along the spinal axis. Stiff shoulders when you strain to appear strong. Lower back pain when you feel unsupported. Curved knees, retracted neck, rounded back. Not merely the result of bad posture, but biological messages from the mind. A person's uprightness in life is not shown only in morality, but also etched into their stance. The posture of inner living always leaves physical traces. When you live truthfully with yourself, without fear of judgment, without straining to be accepted, the spine naturally expands, opens, lengthens, and straightens, not by force, but because there is nothing left to strain against. Then the spine no longer bears the weight of repressed psychology, but becomes a flexible channel of energy where life flows easily like water. And with each step you take, each movement you make, you carry the full presence of someone no longer divided between inside and outside. If you wish to heal the spine, physical therapy is not enough. You must go deeper within. Place your hand on your neck and ask, "What weight am I carrying on my shoulders that I dare not put down?" Touch your back and ask, "Whom am I supporting that I cannot release?" Place your hand on your lower spine and ask, "What have I lost my last flexibility for?" These questions, if heard without judgment, will reveal the emotional regions left undigested, the blocked energies manifesting as pain. And only when you dare to shift your inner posture can the outer spine be released. The spine is also linked to the chakras, the energy centers known in many ancient traditions. From the base of the tailbone to the crown of the head, each point on the spine corresponds to a level of awareness, a form of life, energy, a type of belief. When you fear about money and survival, the lower back is blocked. When you deny emotions, the abdomen is clogged. When you do not speak your truth, the throat tightens. When you live disconnected from intuition, the neck and crown grow cold. This is no accident. Everything carries meaning, and the spine is the axis connecting these layers of awareness into either a unified body or a fragmented one. Each morning, instead of leaping up quickly, try sitting up slowly, feeling each vertebra, inhaling deeply and silently, affirming, "Today, I live upright with myself." When you stand, let the chest open, the crown, lift the tailbone root firmly, without strain. Simply remember that with this posture, you are resetting the entire nervous system. And if you maintain this awareness throughout the day, when walking, sitting, bending, climbing, then each small act becomes a signal to the subconscious you are no longer living bent over. Not everyone can heal the spine by awareness alone, but every spinal healing begins by looking within. The straighter your mind, the stiffer your back. The more you deny yourself, the more you bend. And the more you accept yourself as you are without forcing, the more your spine naturally extends like a supple column welcoming light. It is no longer just a bone structure, but a declaration of someone who has found their inner axis again. And once the spine returns to its rightful role, no longer the bearer of emotions, but the conductor of life energy, then the entire body begins to move to a new rhythm, the rhythm of freedom, the rhythm of inner uprightness, the rhythm of one who no longer bends from fear but stands tall without effort, because from deep within you no longer wish to escape yourself. Close your eyes. Envision a pure golden pillar standing tall along the center of your body, from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. Not a spine made of bone, but an axis of light, a sacred radiant column that supports you from within with an incorruptible metal, gold. It does not rust. It does not bend. It cannot be broken by fleeting emotions or surface circumstances. That golden pillar is the image of inner uprightness, the very essence your body longs to reconnect with whenever you stray away from yourself. Why gold? Because gold is a metal that does not alter its nature. Whether it endures fire, water time, or pressure, gold remains unchanged. Gold does not corrode, does not tarnish, does not deceive. When you envision your spine as a golden pillar, you are sending a silent message to your entire nervous system. I am living true to my essence. No straining, no pretending to be fine, no bending down to please anyone. Each vertebra is a straight segment in the journey of returning to yourself, without distortion, without compromise. This golden pillar is not just an image, it is programming. Each time you stand, imagine that you are no longer using muscle to hold balance, but being lifted by a golden pillar within. When you walk, you are not dragging tired steps, but being guided by a steady force rising from the base of your spine to the crown of your head. When you sit, you are not pressed down by tension, but are held upright by an inner column of light, both soft and strong, firm yet flexible. This sensation cannot be described by words, but once you touch it, you will never want to return to the old, bent way of living. The miracle is when you silently visualize the golden pillar, the physical body begins to respond. The spine self-adjusts, posture shifts, breath deepens, the frequency of energy you emit rises, and most of all, the decisions you make become clearer, more decisive without hesitation, because physical uprightness always brings inner integrity. You will no longer want to live crooked, no longer bend easily under praise or rejection. That golden pillar will remind you daily, I have nothing to prove. I only need to stand firm as myself. Each morning when you wake, instead of leaping out of bed, lie still and imagine that golden pillar expanding within you. Notice the first feelings that arise: safety, trust, a sense of being supported. When you step out of the house, walk as if each footstep is guided by that inner golden pillar. When you sit at work, let that pillar keep your back straight, your head lifted, your heart uncontracted. And whenever challenges come, take a deep breath. And remember the golden pillar. It will not speak, but it will keep you from breaking. The golden pillar is a symbol of spiritual self-mastery. In a world where everything spins, shifts, and drags you into countless false roles, the image of the golden pillar is a quiet declaration: I have an axis. One who has an axis will not fear being lost. One who has an axis will not let others define their worth. One who has an axis will not collapse themselves in order to be loved. Every deep healing needs an anchor, and that golden pillar is the anchor you can create consciously. Do not mistake rigidity for steadiness. The golden pillar is not a cold rod of metal forcing you into posture. It is life energy, fluid light yet unshaken by the wind. And that very sensation helps you be both steady and flexible, both truthful and soft. You do not need to strain to stand tall. You only need to remember you have a golden pillar, and the body will self-adjust. Biologically, visualizing the golden pillar has profound effects on the central nervous system. When you focus on the spinal axis, you are activating synchronization between the two brain hemispheres, reducing stress in the sympathetic system, increasing blood circulation to the brain, and above all, awakening a sense of safety from within that is not dependent on external conditions. It is the ideal state for every process of recovery, both physical and emotional. You need no one else to hold you upright. You only need to imagine and keep connecting with the golden pillar daily, and you will begin to see inexplicable changes. Confidence returns, decisions grow sharper, toxic relationships naturally fall away, spinal pain gradually eases, and above all you will feel a new form of peace, not born from escape but from standing still in the center with the golden pillar within. For healing does not always begin with action. Sometimes it begins with an image, and the most powerful image you can plant into your body today is your own golden pillar. The skin is not merely the physical boundary covering the body. It is a subtle screen faithfully reflecting the inner films you are broadcasting without even realizing it. Every rash, every dark spot, every inflamed patch, every sudden irritation is not always the fault of climate, cosmetics, or food. They may be signals your body is sending to tell you something simple: I am reacting to what you think and feel about yourself. The skin is the organ most sensitive to psychological states. When you are ashamed, your face flushes. When you are anxious, your skin turns pale. When you are angry, it burns hot. When you are afraid, it breaks out in goosebumps. These are not just fleeting emotional reactions. They are biological language. And when such emotions are held too long without being released, they find a way to manifest across every millimeter of your skin. Observe your skin the way an artist observes the surface of water, not to check your reflection but to read a message. A pimple is not simply a red dot to be concealed, but a sign of unresolved pressure. An allergy is not just a response to an external trigger, but perhaps an expression that you cannot stand yourself at a deeper level. The skin cannot speak, but it cannot lie. It exists as a map, and if you are sensitive enough, you can read the long-suppressed states of mind etched upon it. A person who constantly criticizes themselves will have fragile skin. One who silently carries shame will often face inflammation, rashes, or roughness, as if the body is trying to shield itself from the world's gaze. One burdened by guilt often develops skin problems on the back, the area they cannot reach, just as they cannot reach forgiveness for themselves. The body remembers every repeated thought, and the skin is where the rawest record of what we have not dared to face is kept. And if the skin is a mirror, then you are the one projecting the film. Every morning when you wake, what messages are you sending your body? Do you look at yourself in the mirror with acceptance or only judgment? Do you apply skincare with gratitude, or just to conceal flaws you despise? The body hears it all. The skin absorbs it all, not just creams, but also the energy in your words, your gaze, and your repeated thoughts each day. Nothing takes root as deeply as the habit of self-denial, and no organ reacts as strongly as the skin. To change the skin, do not start from the outside. Begin from within. Ask yourself, what needs to be forgiven in me? Which emotion am I avoiding? What belief am I holding about my own worth? When you begin to change the way you speak with yourself, the skin will be the first to respond, not only through smoothness on the surface, but with a sense of ease, lightness, and an aura of clarity radiating from you, even before anyone touches you. Try a small ritual each night before sleep. Place your hand on your cheek and silently whisper, "Thank you, skin, for being loyal to me. I allow you to breathe. I am no longer angry at myself. I release the tension you have been carrying for me. You are loved, you are allowed to rest." You do not need to believe in the effect immediately. You only need to do it consistently. The skin hears, and the body always responds when you change the way you speak to it. The skin is also the first area to receive invisible wounds. A childhood insult can etch itself on the skin like a curse lasting decades. A forgotten memory can turn into eczema, fungus, or chronic inflammation, as if the body is crying out, "Listen." But if you are brave enough not only to treat symptoms, but to go inward and touch the denied emotions, miracles begin. Because the skin needs only one thing: unconditional acceptance. Beautiful skin does not come from collagen. It comes from stopping the constant self-judgment. Skin does not need perfection. It needs to be seen with loving eyes, even when it carries flaws. And strangely, it is from that point of acceptance that true healing begins. Gentle, patient, sustainable. Because when the mind rests in non-judgment, the body can enter its natural regeneration mode, something no cosmetic product can replicate. Let the skin become an ally rather than an enemy. Each time you look in the mirror, do not ask, "What is wrong here?" but instead, "What am I meant to learn through this expression?" When you change the question, the energy of every cell changes with it. And when you love your skin as if you are loving the very life holding you here, the skin will no longer need to scream. It will soften, it will calm, and it will glow as if your soul has just been washed clean, not for anyone else, but because at last you have chosen to stop and listen. Not a single cell can surpass the image you hold of yourself. No matter what cream you use, how expensive the treatment, or how perfect the diet, if deep inside you still carry an old distorted image of yourself, still deny your own worth, then every healing effort will remain only on the surface. The skin does not respond to price tags. It responds to the frequency of belief. And the beginning of every biological change lies in changing the psychological image you project onto yourself each day. Some people always look in the mirror and see a face that is not beautiful enough. They may not say it aloud, but in their subconscious, they silently label themselves ugly, unattractive, unlovable. That image repeats every morning. Each time they look in the mirror, it is not to connect, but to check for flaws. Not to see themselves, but to confirm old prejudices. And over time, the skin begins to respond exactly to that script, darkening, breaking out, wrinkling early, drying out, not because of age, but because the body is faithfully following the inner image it has been commanded to. This is not blind optimism. This is how your nervous and endocrine systems operate. Every cell is influenced by signals from the hypothalamus in the brain, the part that listens to every repeated thought, every image you hold of yourself. If that image is of someone always straining to be accepted, always despising their face, always thinking my skin is a problem, then that is the biological command being transmitted. Conversely, when you change your inner image, when you no longer see yourself as something to be fixed, but as a being in recovery, beautiful in your own way, learning to soften and breathe with ease, then your entire nervous system shifts into a state of safety. Cortisol decreases, the immune system begins to function properly, blood circulation improves, skin regeneration accelerates, not because you tried to treat your skin, but because you started treating yourself as a body worthy of renewal. Try a new image, an image of yourself, not tense, not defensive, not avoiding your own gaze in the mirror. A you who is smiling, gentle, breathing deeply, and accepting the entire process as it unfolds. You do not need perfect skin to be loved. You do not need eternal youth to have value. You only need to be here, present, honest, and willing to heal from the roots. That image, if repeated often enough, becomes the new map for your body to follow. And the skin, sensitive and faithful as it is, will do its part to manifest what you believe to be true. Imagine every morning as a ritual of reshaping yourself. When you wash your face, you are not just cleansing dirt, you are refreshing your inner image. When you apply cream, you are not just caring for skin, you are sending the message, I deserve care. I am someone who is restoring, not someone who needs to hide. When you look in the mirror, you are no longer scanning for flaws. You are affirming, I am becoming more radiant from within. This is not illusion. This is an undercurrent therapy, one that is reprogramming your body's entire response system. And if the image you hold is of a weak, you fearful, always needing to hide, then be brave enough to change it. Not with empty slogans, but with a concrete act. Look straight into the mirror, breathe deeply, and choose another image. Perhaps the image of someone healed, someone glowing from within, someone attractive without strain. Hold that image in your mind as a map and repeat it every day. Because wherever the mind goes, the body will follow. Just as the soil will produce the kind of plant corresponding to the seed sown, the skin will become the faithful reflection of the image seed you plant each day. If you sow self-blame, you will harvest damage. If you sow love, you will harvest regeneration. The question is not, can my skin get better? But am I holding an image that allows my skin to heal? When the answer becomes clear, the healing process will begin. Not through forcing, not through pressure, but simply because you allow it. Every skincare formula, no matter how perfect, cannot replace the image you hold of yourself. That image is the baseline signal, the default code, the guiding wave for every hormone enzyme and biological reaction within you. If the core image is of someone living in love, healing, and freedom, then no matter how damaged the skin has been, it will find a way to regenerate. Because the body never opposes you. It only follows the map you have drawn. So redraw the map. Choose an image you truly want to live by. It does not need to look like anyone else. It does not need to fit any standard. It only needs to be you, original, gentle in renewal, loving yourself more each day. When that image is nourished long enough in the subconscious, the skin will become its vivid proof. And the first person to recognize the change will not be others but you, the one who finally chose to see yourself with forgiving eyes. Blood is not just the liquid that sustains the body. It is the movement of the mind, embodied in each heartbeat. Every cycle of circulation carries not only oxygen, nutrients, and antibodies, but also spiritual energy, emotions, and beliefs. With each beat, blood is pumped, carrying subtle messages to every cell: survive, recover, continue. Yet what few notice is this: the content of those messages depends entirely on the quality of the thoughts you repeat each day. Thoughts do not exist only in the head. They have frequency, they have vibration, they have force. A hopeful thought dilates blood vessels, enhances circulation, lowers blood pressure. A prolonged, fearful thought constricts capillaries, strains the cardiovascular system, and blocks flow. The mind is not an isolated operator. It is the central conductor of life's rhythm. And blood is the loyal messenger, delivering every word you whisper to yourself, to every organ. You can observe this right now. When you imagine yourself being loved, cherished, praised, your body immediately responds. The heart softens, the chest warms, the fingertips relax. But if you imagine being judged, abandoned, humiliated, even for a few seconds, you feel the heart tighten, your hands turn cold, muscles tense. No one touched you. It was only thought. But that thought was strong enough to redirect your entire circulatory system, as if steering a river. The blood inside does not flow by mechanical rule. It listens to its master. It moves soft or rigid, strong or weak, smooth or blocked, according to the commands you send unconsciously. Someone who often lives in resentment will feel their blood run hot, not just as a metaphor, but as a biological reaction. The heart beats faster. Blood pressure rises, vessel walls strain, eventually damaging the cardiovascular system. Conversely, someone who lives in gratitude, forgiveness, and ease usually has a steady pulse, good circulation, and a body that heals more easily. Blood is your living water. It repeats the rhythm exactly as your mind teaches it. You don't need deep medical knowledge to understand this. You only need to ask, what kind of thoughts am I feeding my blood each day? Am I pouring into it harsh words, fear, fatigue, resentment? Or am I infusing it with gentle waves of love, gratitude, and trust in healing? The circulatory system does not filter. It simply faithfully carries whatever you create. Therefore, if you want to improve cardiovascular health, don't start with medicine. Start with how you speak to yourself. When you repeat affirmations such as, "I am flowing freely," "My heart beats to the rhythm of love," every cell in me is nourished by pure life. You are not merely imagining. You are redrawing the circulatory map with a language more persuasive than any prescription words, charged with emotion and belief. This is not blind faith. It has been proven through miraculous recoveries, where patients not only followed physical treatments, but also changed their inner dialogue. They no longer viewed the heart as a fragile machine, but as a companion fighting for them with every beat. They no longer thought their blood was a problem, but began whispering supportive words: "I am flowing freely. I am no longer blocked. I am opening the way for life to pass through." And little by little, the body began to obey. If you want to feel this power clearly, take a few minutes each morning to imagine your blood warming, spreading evenly through your body, carrying light and love. Don't rush. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, place your hand on your heart and whisper, "Thank you for every drop of blood keeping me alive. I allow circulation to open. I release anger. I stop rejecting myself. I choose softness. I choose a new flow." When you speak this way, you are issuing a new command, and the blood will answer. Blood does not know how to argue back. It only knows how to listen. And once you understand this, you will become more careful with the thoughts you allow to linger in your mind. A toxic thought does not only wound the spirit, it is a drop of ink darkening an entire river. Conversely, a clear thought is a ray of light entering the bloodstream, washing hidden corners, long neglected, rekindling the rhythm of life that has always waited for you to return. Remember, you don't need to wait for illness to begin healing. Every day, every hour, you have the right to reset your flow. The circulatory system does not demand complexity. It only needs you to stop sending signals of conflict and begin transmitting harmony. You are the conductor of the inner symphony. If you want your blood to flow smooth, free, and full of vitality, Begin with the smallest change thought, because blood does not run according to logic, it runs according to belief. And when you believe your body is recovering, when you choose words of support instead of criticism, when you see the heart as a friend and the vessels as rivers nourishing life, you are not just thinking positively. You are rewriting the entire biological map with what you release. Blood will follow, the heart will listen, and life once again will return to its true rhythm. You don't need medical equipment to know when your body begins to stagnate. You feel it in the heaviness of your chest, in the way your blood seems to slow inside your veins, in the coldness of your fingertips or feet, in irregular heartbeats or shortness of breath. But don't be quick to blame age or weather. Look instead at what has been most neglected, the mind, for it is the mind that coordinates circulation. When the mind is blocked, circulation also shuts down. And what you need is not a jolt of caffeine, but a conscious command: I flow, I live. The body does not stagnate by itself. It only reflects precisely the deadlock within you. When you live on repeat without renewing thought, without allowing emotions to be released, without giving ideas space to breathe, without granting yourself new experiences, every current begins to slow. Stagnant thought is the first signal. Then emotions loop. Then energy evaporates. Then blood stops flowing evenly. And you find yourself tired, but not knowing why. At that moment, you don't need more coffee. You need a reset command. A word spoken with decision, like a switch to restart the dormant bioelectric current. I flow. 3 simple words, yet they carry the power to awaken. It is not merely a phrase. It is a shift in the vibrational structure you are sending out. It touches the nervous system. It stirs the vessels. It makes the cells listen and begin to move. Why does this command work? Because every system in the body, from blood circulation to lymph, from respiration to digestion, operates according to your inner state. When you feel heavy, everything slows. When you feel blocked, every pathway inside closes. When you delay facing yourself, the organs delay their functions too. But when you deliberately command life to continue, the body does not resist. Understand this: clearly, biological flow does not start from the outside. It begins with an inner decision. Each time you feel stagnant, pause, close your eyes, place your hand on your heart or your belly, and say slowly, I flow. Then add one more beat, I live. Feel your breath deepen. Feel your chest open. Feel your hands warm again. This is not mystical. It is the natural reflex of a system listening to a clear order from its command center. And if you still doubt this, observe someone living without purpose, without inspiration, without dreams. Their face turns gray, their eyes dull, their hands and feet cold. Blood slows. Emotion shuts down. The heart beats only out of duty, not out of vitality. They are not gravely ill, but they are not truly alive either. This is the mark of circulation stuck, because the mind has refused to move. Nothing outside can pull you out of that state unless you dare to reactivate yourself from within. Remember, no one can do this for you. No prayer works if you do not agree. No technique is useful if you do not command. And no change happens if your mind continues to whisper, I'm tired, I'm blocked, I have no energy left. These phrases, even unspoken aloud, are broadcasting signals through your body, and the nervous system, loyal to the end, only obeys. So change that signal. Say, I flow. Not as a vague positive affirmation, but as a life or death command. Picture your bloodstreams hearing it and opening valves. Imagine the tiny vessels loosening the lymph, melting the endocrine glands, activating. See yourself coming alive again from a very deep place, not by external force, but because you have chosen to reconnect with life within. And from there, repeat it daily. When you sit too long at work and your mind fogs, whisper, I flow. When you wake up, instead of reaching for your phone, touch your chest and say, I live. When you feel a part of your body tense or aching, place your hand on it, breathe slowly, and send the word flow. Each word you release, if paired with image and true feeling, becomes a biological trigger, and you are no longer the passive victim of fatigue. You are the commander of the current of life, because it is not your body that needs repair. It is the channel between mind and body that must be cleared again. You are not lacking in energy. You simply forgot to command. You don't need to strain. You only need to change the signal. Begin with this sentence. Whenever you feel blocked, I flow, I live. Repeat it unhurried. Feel each word pouring like warm water through your body. Allow this phrase to become the key, unlocking the circulation within you and unlocking yourself once more with life. The body does not operate merely on muscle or flesh. It operates on signals, and the most powerful signals, those that spread everywhere the fastest, are chemical signals emitted by the endocrine glands, the pituitary, thyroid, adrenal glands, pancreas, reproductive glands. All function like micro-broadcast stations, not only reacting to the external environment, but also responding to every pulse of emotion you hold within. Every emotion you nurture, every unprocessed thought, every lingering fear, all send out a signal, and the endocrine glands are the first to listen. You cannot hide anything from your endocrine system. They don't wait for you to speak. They read emotional frequency. When you are angry, the adrenal glands release cortisol. When you are anxious, adrenaline starts pumping. When you love, the pituitary secretes oxytocin. When you feel confident, testosterone and dopamine flow strongly. But if you live in a state of constant conflict, between desire and fear, expectation and disappointment, outward performance and inner exhaustion, then the endocrine system no longer knows whom to believe. And the result is imbalance. Endocrine imbalance does not always begin as disease. It begins as prolonged emotional instability, an unresolved worry, an unacknowledged anger, a feeling suppressed in silence repeated day after day. Each time this happens, the glands register the imbalance and try to adapt. But if you never pause, never reset the emotional frequency you are broadcasting, the glands lose track of command. They become overloaded, and the body enters a chain of symptoms medicine often calls unexplained. You feel sleepless, unmotivated, mood swings, irritable, tearful, heart rhythm easily unsettled, fatigued after the smallest matters. Don't rush to blame age or environment. Look instead at the inner transmitters, the endocrine glands struggling to catch a clear signal from your mind, but unable to understand what you are sending. That is the sign you are broadcasting emotional interference. And here is the truth you must remember. Emotions do not disappear. They turn into chemistry. If you cannot release emotion through awareness, your body will release it through illness. The tears that never fall outward will fall inward, like a microacid stream. The words swallowed back into the throat will cling to the thyroid. Silent self-blame will accumulate in the ovaries or breasts. Resentments never faced will echo in the liver, pancreas, adrenal glands. Everything has a place to be expressed and to turn into illness. But conversely, if you begin to communicate again with your body, not through biological knowledge but through clear, truthful and gentle emotional language, the endocrine glands will listen, because they don't need you to be skilled, perfect or strong all the time. They only need you to send a new signal, a frequency no longer conflicted, a form of inner leadership through stability. A new master not commanding with strain but with whole, compassionate feeling toward yourself. You don't need to talk directly to the thyroid or pituitary. You only need to do one thing: adjust the way you handle emotions. Each time you feel triggered, instead of swallowing it down, observe. Place your hand on your chest and whisper, "I see this emotion. I do not resist. I am listening." Then breathe. Deep breathing is the signal of safety sent to the nervous system. When emotions are acknowledged, the endocrine glands stop broadcasting emergency signals. The chemical cascade halts. The body returns to neutral, and from there recovery begins. If you want the endocrine system to function harmoniously, let emotions transform instead of being buried. Write out your anger instead of suppressing it. Cry when needed. Laugh without reason. Speak forgiveness when your heart feels heavy. Do not think hormonal balance comes from diet or supplements alone. It is the outcome of a state of living in harmony with yourself. And that state begins with one small change. Stop judging your emotions. Say to yourself, "I am sending out healing waves. I am living honestly. I do not need to suppress. I choose to understand." That phrase is not just sound, it is a password into the endocrine system. It is a subtle frequency traveling into every smallest transmitter inside you, saying, "We are safe. We are no longer driven by fear. We are led by love." The endocrine glands will never betray you. They only broadcast the frequency you are holding. And when you clear that frequency, with awareness, acceptance, and conscious adjustment of emotions, you will see your body recover without force, because those transmitters are always active. The only question is, what music are you sending them? Fear or steadiness, conflict or harmony, pretending or honesty? You hold the right to rewrite the chemical program inside yourself, without doctors, without laboratories, but through the most powerful act, transforming emotions into healing signals, and from there your body will hear and answer with health. You don't need to know anatomy to understand that there are three silent characters shaping the way you respond each day: the thyroid, which regulates the pace of life; the adrenals, which sound the alarm when you feel threatened; and the pancreas, which decides how you process energy. None of them act randomly. They are not rebelling. They are not damaged because of one wrong meal or a single sleepless night. They are simply following the unconscious script you wrote long ago. The problem is, you don't remember what you wrote. The thyroid regulates metabolic speed. In other words, it mirrors the inner pace of your life. If you are always in a rush, constantly feeling, "I'm not fast enough, I'm being left behind, I must do more," then the thyroid speeds up. It secretes more hormones to meet that inner demand. But if, on the contrary, you live in prolonged fatigue with no clear purpose, feeling that life is stagnant, finding no excitement in anything, the thyroid will slow down. It reflects the unconscious belief, "I'm going nowhere." The adrenals are the quickest responders when you sense danger, real or imagined. If you live in constant worry, vague fear, or carry unresolved childhood memories, where you once felt small, vulnerable, judged, or abandoned, then the adrenals default to you are in a war zone. And so cortisol is produced continuously. The body enters a state of high alert. You lose the ability to rest. Sleep is cut short. Immunity weakens. All energy is directed only to survival. The pancreas, in turn, is sensitive to something you often overlook: your sense of satisfaction with life. It produces insulin, the hormone that regulates how you use sugar and energy. If you live in a constant state of lack, the feeling of never enough, never fulfilled, the pancreas assumes you need to store energy as a form of defense. And so fat accumulates, blood sugar swings erratically, and the body sinks into imbalance, even if your diet hasn't changed. These three glands don't wait for illness before reacting. They've been speaking long before, through small signals: feeling tired but unable to sleep, eating normally yet gaining weight, thoughts turning unclear, losing focus, sinking into lows, then snapping in sudden anger. All are reflections of an unconscious emotional chart you've never reviewed. And unless you change the root, the script you are writing daily in your mind, even medication only adjusts the surface. The question is not, "What should I take?" but, "What script am I living by?" Pay attention to the phrases you often repeat silently. "I must push harder. I can't keep up. I really am weak. I can't control this anymore." Those words don't vanish into the air. They become biological commands, and the body, like a loyal soldier, simply obeys. To change biological responses, you must rewrite the original command, not by trying to force positive affirmations, but by pausing and listening. Each morning before the day begins, place your hand on your neck, where the thyroid rests. Close your eyes. Whisper, "Everything is unfolding at my pace." Send a gentle signal to the thyroid: there is no need to rush, no need to prove anything. I allow myself to follow my own rhythm. Next, place your hand on the lower abdomen, where the pancreas and adrenals reside. Breathe in deeply, exhale slowly, and say, "I am safe, I am supported, I am not lacking anything." These words are not magic spells, they are tuning frequencies. When you change your repeated thoughts, when you shift your dominant emotions, these three glands will respond accordingly. Not to surface wishes, but to the new core belief. And if you still feel the body isn't cooperating, remember, it is not against you. It simply doesn't know what you want. The unconscious is where the operating script is written, and you are the one holding the pen. No one else can change it. No doctor can treat a script you refuse to rewrite. No method can succeed if you are still living under the hidden belief, "I am always overburdened, I am always lacking, I am not strong enough to live fully." Begin today, not by trying to fix symptoms, but by shifting from enduring the body to communicating with the body. Tell the thyroid you are no longer in a race. Tell the adrenals you have grown and you can protect yourself now. Tell the pancreas you no longer live in inner scarcity. And each time you repeat those words, with real emotion, you are rewriting the unconscious script. The body is the stage, the glands are the actors, you are the playwright. And the miracle is every play can be rewritten, starting from within. No one wants pain. Pain makes you shrink back, tense up, lose sleep, lose patience, even lose faith in your own body. But pain is not a destroyer. It is a loyal signaling system, the body's final knock on the door. When every earlier signal has already been ignored, pain does not come to punish, it comes to be heard. Pain is not always the result of physical injury. There are pains that last for months, even years, while every test result shows normal. In those moments, understand this: the body doesn't need painkillers. It needs you to reduce the conflict. Pain is an untranslated voice from the deep unconscious. It carries a message, and when you keep trying to silence it, ignore it, dismiss it, the pain only raises its volume, not to frighten you, but to be decoded. Every type of pain has its own language. A headache is the voice of an overloaded mind. Neck and shoulder pain is the weight you are trying to carry alone. Lower back pain often relates to a lack of emotional or financial safety. Stomach pain is the result of digesting life in a state of tension and mistrust. Chest tightness sometimes doesn't come from the heart, but from emotions repressed too long. Vague, lingering chronic aches with no clear cause. That is the body telling you, I can't bear this anymore. You can take medication, you can do physical therapy, but if you keep the same old thoughts, the same old lifestyle, the same buried emotions, the pain will return like an alarm clock that was never turned off at the source. Because what you need is not simply to end the pain, but to change how you respond to its cry. Imagine pain as a panicked child running to you, shouting, something is wrong, something is wrong. If you push it away, cover your ears, scold it for being troublesome, it will only scream louder. But if you sit down, look into its eyes and ask, tell me what is really happening, you have just begun the process of transformation. The body does not need you to be a doctor. It needs you to be an honest, conversational partner. When pain comes, instead of asking, why is this happening to me, ask, what does this pain want me to see that I'm refusing to look at? Sometimes it is a limit you've crossed, a relationship you are enduring, an emotion you've never dared to admit, a sleep you've sacrificed for too long, a part of your soul drying out because you've forgotten inner care. Each morning when you wake and still feel pain, don't begin with resentment. Place your hand on that area, close your eyes and softly say, I hear you. I'm listening. I will not abandon you anymore. These whispers are the first step of a healing treatment no medicine can replace, because it is acknowledgement. And nothing heals faster than a feeling that has finally been recognized. You will notice something strange: pain begins to soften when you stop resisting it. Not because you are surrendering, but because you have started a dialogue instead of a battle. When you observe instead of judge, the body shifts into a state of safety. The sympathetic nervous system, which creates tension, yields to the parasympathetic system, where recovery begins to operate. No more gunfire alarms, only companionship. And from there, the pain gradually steps back. Don't mistake healing for something that must be long and complicated. Sometimes it begins with only one thing: accepting pain as part of you, not your enemy. When you look at it with the eyes of compassion, as though embracing a lost, misunderstood part of yourself, you will see change begin. Speak to your pain as you would to an old friend. I know you've been here for a long time. I know you just want me to listen. I'm sorry for pretending you didn't exist. From now on, I won't run away. We will heal together. That is not just talk. That is the opening of a door for a new stream of vitality to flow into the cells, not from the outside, but from the shift within. Pain does not come to make you weaker. It comes to show you where you have been hurting yourself. And it will stay, not to punish, but to remind you, to return. Return to yourself. Return to the emotions you abandoned. Return to the biological wisdom waiting for you to listen. And when you respond with understanding, with real emotion, with slower breaths, with eyes no longer resisting, then pain becomes a pat on the shoulder, not a warning siren. Do not fear pain. The greatest fear is to live without ever knowing why you hurt. You can turn that cry into a guiding signal. You can transform pain into a wake-up bell. And you can right now say to your body, I hear you. I am learning to love you again, starting from the very place that once frightened me most. No needles are needed, no anesthesia, and no advanced medical techniques either. The subconscious itself can generate the effect of gradually numbing pain. If you know how to command it in the language it understands: clear words, steady repetition, and vivid imagery in the mind. Not every pain must be endured. Often what the body needs is simply a different script, broadcast by you, strong enough, clear enough, and convincing enough for the subconscious to obey. Physical pain does not always arise from mechanical injury. Sometimes it is the mind's software sending faulty signals because you have thought for too long that you are weak, that you will hurt, that you cannot overcome it, that this pain will never end. And when such a thought is repeated long enough, the subconscious accepts it as an instruction. It commands the nervous system to feel according to that belief. But that very same subconscious, when properly guided, can reverse course, soothe the pain, cut off the signal to the brain, and return to you a state of active control. Imagination is the key. Not vague imagination, but concrete, vivid images, replayed like a film inside your mind. When you imagine a stream of cool blue light flowing through the painful area, weaving into each nerve fiber, covering the tense muscles and slowly calming the whole system, the nervous system responds. The body begins to adjust. Blood vessels dilate. The heartbeat stabilizes. Breathing slows. The pain starts to recede. The subconscious does not distinguish between real and imagined. A vivid image repeated often enough creates a chemical reaction similar to something actually happening. That is why a nightmare can make you break out in sweat in the middle of the night, even though nothing truly occurred. And for the same reason, a strong positive visualization can convince the body entirely, I am fine. I am no longer in pain. Practice does not have to be complicated. Simply choose a quiet moment, before sleep or right after waking. Close your eyes, focus on the painful area, and begin to issue commands. With simple, firm, unambiguous words, this area is gradually calming. I am relaxing every cell. A cooling sensation is spreading. I am in control of my sensations. You don't need to force yourself to believe immediately. Just repeat. And with each repetition, add another layer of imagery, colors, temperature, the movement of light, gentle surrounding sounds. This is not self-hypnosis, but the natural way of communicating with the subconscious. When you speak, visualize, and feel a state different from reality, you are creating a new sensory map. And the body, like a biological GPS, will begin to adjust its course according to that map. Imagine you are holding a soft wand of golden light capable of soothing wherever it touches. You glide it across your tense shoulders, across your neck, your back, your knees, your stomach. Everywhere it passes, the light leaves behind a cool mist, calming the nerves, softening the muscles, dissolving inner conflict. And each time you do this, repeating the same image, the same message, you are sending a clear signal to the subconscious, do this for me. Remember, the subconscious does not respond to reasoning, but to emotion and consistency. If you say words of numbing yet harbor doubt inside, the effect will be weak. But if you speak while exhaling, gently synchronizing with a slower heartbeat, and genuinely desiring to release tension, then the subconscious knows you are serious. And once it believes you, it will do the rest. The question is no longer, how do I stop the pain, but rather, what am I teaching my subconscious to feel in this body? For if you keep saying all day, God, it hurts so much, you are repeating the old signal. But if you say, I am sending calm into this area, you are creating a new command. And if you are patient enough, emotional enough, and vivid enough, that new command will take priority. Pain does not vanish because you hate it. It fades when you stop feeding it energy through fear. And the opposite energy, relaxation agency, gentleness, is far more powerful than painkillers. Because it has no side effects, it does not paralyze. It restores to you control over yourself. Every cell hears you. Every organ responds to the dominant stream of emotion you carry. Every nerve region can be reprogrammed, not by force, but by the gentle melody you repeat long enough for the subconscious to memorize. And if one day you truly feel pain disappear within minutes of visualization and repetition, don't be surprised, for it is not a miracle. It is you using the most advanced language your body has always been waiting for, words filled with imagery, infused with emotion, repeated with unwavering faith. It is not medicine, not supplements, and not any advanced medical treatment. One of the most powerful detoxifiers you can give your body is the act of forgiveness. Not forgiveness because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve freedom. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is a biological decision, a chemical choice, a natural anti-inflammatory that only your mind can activate. When you hold on to resentment, when you carry unresolved wounds, when you cling to injustice not yet released, the body does not know that these are just thoughts. It believes you are actually under threat. The immune system switches to defense mode. Cortisol, the stress hormone, floods into your blood. Blood pressure rises. Heart rhythm is disrupted. Cells begin reacting as if the enemy is present right here, right now. And if you keep this state for days, weeks, years, inflammation becomes the body's default baseline. You cannot switch off inflammation if you keep switching on hatred. The body does not distinguish between an external enemy and emotions trapped inside. To the body, every time you recall an old pain, it is a new injury. Every time you say, I cannot forgive that person, you are authorizing your immune system to continue attacking itself. And if you find yourself with unexplained allergies, lingering aches, fatigue without clear cause, then ask yourself, who am I still angry with? Whom have I not forgiven? Forgiveness does not mean denying the wound. Forgiveness means looking directly at it and saying, I choose healing over bleeding. It means giving the past permission to rest. It means ceasing to replay scenes of suffering in your mind every day as though they happened yesterday. Forgiveness does not erase memory, but it rewrites the emotional code attached to that memory, transforming toxin into nourishment. Every time you release a heavy emotion, the body immediately feels lighter, not because your weight changed, but because your nervous system is no longer compressed. Digestion improves, sleep deepens, skin brightens, blood flows more easily, inflammation subsides, cells begin to regenerate instead of merely existing in defense mode. No medical bill will record this, but millions of bodies are remembering it in every single moment. Sometimes the only thing keeping you in pain is not the wound itself, but the attachment to justice that has not yet arrived. You want the other person to apologize, to suffer, to understand your pain. But while waiting for justice to come from the outside, you are imprisoning yourself in the camp of stress, anger, and chronic inflammation. The more you demand someone must pay, the more your body is paying the price each day. Forgiveness does not require two people. It is inner work, done in silence for yourself. It is when you place your hand on your chest, breathe deeply, and say, I don't need to hold this hatred anymore. I deserve peace. I release this person, not because they are right, but because I want to live. Each time you say this, you are not speaking for them to hear. You are speaking to your immune system, to your glands, to the blood vessels constricting under unprocessed emotion, and you will see after true forgiveness your skin begins to glow. Breathing feels lighter, the back no longer tenses, the voice softens, the eyes warm. Not because you have become a better person, but because your whole body no longer has to fight a phantom war. You have laid down arms, you have declared a truce with memory, and the body hears it. If today you feel exhausted for no reason, sit quietly for a while and ask, am I still angry with someone? It might be your parents, an ex-partner, or your past self. Imagine them standing before you. No justification needed, no dialogue. Simply say, I choose forgiveness. I don't need you to change. I only need myself to heal. And then exhale, as if dropping a stone from your chest. The body will understand, and the response will begin immediately. From now on, do not think of forgiveness as morality. Think of it as biology, like detox, like drinking water, like releasing old energy to make space for new life. Forgiveness is not about making the world fair. It is how you stop being poisoned by a past you cannot change. Your body is waiting for your decision, not the decision of who is right or wrong, but the decision of whether to keep feeding old emotions or to begin a new biological reaction with the quietest, deepest, and most resolute forgiveness you have ever chosen. Every cell in your body is a living entity, a unit with memory, with rhythm, with innate intelligence. They do not only respond to medicine, food, or environmental conditions, they also respond directly to every signal you transmit through thoughts, words, and emotional states. Every time you speak, a word charged with energy, that vibration flows into the blood, spreads through the organs, and reaches every cell. And they respond, not with words, but with the way they live, becoming healthier, brighter, or instead dim, sluggish, weakened, depending on the message you send. If you say, I'm exhausted, I have no energy left, what happens then? The cells slow down their metabolism, hormones regulating energy drop. The autonomic nervous system records the owner no longer has the will to sustain vitality, and so the body obeys. But if you place your hand on your chest, close your eyes and say, I am light, I am life, you are switching back on the circuit you yourself once turned off. And something remarkable happens. The body understands. It begins to activate again. Each cell receives a spark of light you thought was only symbolic, but to biology it is a command to restore. Cells do not need you to be perfect. They only need you to stop sending signals of despair, because they cannot analyze philosophy. They live by signals. And if day after day you pump fatigue, anxiety, self-doubt, resentment, and tension into your bloodstream, they stop growing, stop repairing themselves, stop cooperating. A healthy body is not one without problems, but one in which the cells still believe they are serving a being who intends to live. When you say, I am light, you are not joking. You are declaring a truth deeper than physics. Light at the cellular level is not just a spiritual metaphor. It is photons, particles of inner light produced by biological processes, especially within DNA activity. Research has shown that healthy cells emit faint light, called biophotons, as a form of communication with each other. When you live positively, lovingly, forgivingly, when you radiate the signal of joy, that light becomes stronger. And when you sink into gloom, cells begin to emit disordered signals. You can heal not by fighting disease, but by giving your cells a reason to keep growing. Each morning, instead of reaching for your phone, place your hand on your belly and say, "Good morning, my cells. Today I will live fully. I am light. I am life." That statement, seemingly simple if repeated daily with full presence, creates a new biological foundation across your entire body. No one else can speak on your behalf. No doctor, no loved one, no medical treatment can proclaim to your cells that you want to live, and live brightly. When you accept that responsibility, when you dare to radiate positive energy even in fatigue, when you dare to say, "I will not give up," each small unit in your body hears it, and they begin to adjust. You do not need to understand how it works. You only need to believe and act. You are not alone in this body. Trillions of cells are working for you every day. They heal wounds, produce energy, fight bacteria, replace damaged parts, without you having to consciously control it. But they need your belief as fuel. And you supply that fuel through every word, every thought, every image you hold in your mind. Say, "I am life." And do not just say it as a slogan. Feel it. The body does not need complex theories. It needs consistency. If you speak of light while living in the shadow of doubt, anxiety, and self-rejection, the cells will be confused. But if you gradually weave those words into your daily habit, with a warm tone, steady breath, and mindful presence, the body will hear and align. Cells begin reconnecting. The immune system stops attacking itself. Old wounds start processing. The nervous system steadies, and from there, miracles begin. You do not need to wait until you are healthy to declare yourself light. It is precisely when you are weak that you must say it. You do not need to wait for happiness to claim you are life. It is precisely when you are wounded that you must affirm, "I am alive, I am still alive, and I will not let this light be extinguished." You are your own sun. And that light, if you ignite it each day with deliberate words, will shine into every cell, every wrinkle, every smallest blood vessel. The cells are listening. They are waiting for your signal. And each time you say, "I am light, I am life," life itself grows stronger within you. No miracle required. Only the reminder that vitality is already in your hands, right now.